Welcome back to Folder 404. Another sealed case has surfaced, redacted, abandoned. And yet, here it is. Whispers in code, notes that don't make sense until they do. Put on your headphones, kill the lights, and prepare to access what should have stayed buried. This is Folder 404. Let's begin. Time to open the file. The signal beneath the lake. The lake had always been silent. In winter, its glassy surface turned to a sheet of ice so clear and perfect, the townspeople joked you could see your soul staring back. But this winter, something else stared. Derek Lane, 42, quiet, the kind of man who fixed things more easily than he spoke, sat alone in the signal shack at the edge of Grey Bar Lake. The wind outside keened through the pine trees, and the antenna array above his station clinked and groaned like old bones. The monitor hissed with static. He leaned closer, frowning. There it was again. A pulse. Too low to hear without filtering, but there. Regular, intentional. He adjusted the frequency, fingers trembling slightly. It sounded like breathing, a deep, slow breathing, as if the lake exhaled in its sleep. He turned away from the console and stared through the frost-blurred window. The lake glittered like a knife under moonlight. The next morning, Derek walked into town, bundled in an old wool coat. People knew him as the Signal Man, a holdover from when the lake station was still maintained by the Forestry Service. These days, Derek just maintained it for fun. Or obsession. The town was called Branwyn, fewer than 300 souls now, and the ones who stayed year-round didn't ask many questions. At the diner, Derek sipped coffee and watched the snow fall sideways outside. That's when Martin Eckers walked in. Martin, grey-beard, mailman since 1987, strode straight to Derek's booth. "Your damn tower's humming again," Martin grumbled. "It's keeping my dog up." Derek blinked. It's not the tower. It's coming from the lake. Martin stared. The lake? Signals originating under the ice, and it's not electrical. It's organic. Like an animal. Derek didn't answer. By the third day, the signal changed. The pulse became layered, one tone stacked over another. If he slowed it down, it sounded like syllables. "Do not look down." Derek stopped eating. That night, the town lost power. A whiteout storm swept in from the north, cutting off Branwyn completely. No road access, no radio, no heat, unless you had a fireplace or a generator. The only signal Derek could pick up was the one from the lake. It was louder now, clearer, a voice, childlike. "We are still here." By day 6, people began to disappear. First, Mrs. Hargrove. Her cabin was found empty, doors locked from the inside. No footprints, no signs of struggle. Then the town sheriff, Caleb Dunn. His snowmobile was discovered halfway across the lake, keys still in the ignition, and then Martin. Derek found his dog shivering by the back porch. The leash had been snapped clean, blood on the snow. People started to whisper, blame the storm, wolves the cold. But Derek knew, he could feel it. The lake was listening. He replayed the signal on a loop, each time tweaking the filter, isolating new fragments. Beneath the static, he uncovered layers, hundreds of voices, all speaking at once, all saying the same thing. "Let us through." He recorded one of the messages onto a cassette and brought it to the church basement where the remaining townsfolk had gathered for warmth. "Just listen," he said. The voice played back, childlike, pleading. The room fell silent. Then came the nosebleeds. First the preacher, then old Annie Ward, then the children. Blood ran from their ears. Some collapsed. Others began whispering strange prayers in languages no one recognized. Derek turned off the tape. He realized then that the signal wasn't meant to be heard. It was a beacon, a door, and now it was open. That night he walked to the lake. The storm had paused, the air heavy and still. A crack had formed in the ice, a long black gash reaching from shore to center. Derek followed it. He stood at the edge of the fracture, staring down. The ice was paper-thin here. He could see something below. Not movement exactly. Shape, long, coiled like intestines, shifting slowly. The air around him began to vibrate. A low hum building toward a scream, and then silence. He opened his mouth. No sound. He fell to his knees, eyes wide. From beneath the ice, something looked up. A mouth, not human, teeth like icicles, and it began to rise. Derek woke in his shack. No idea how he got back. Hands blistered, eyes bloodshot. The lake was silent again, the signal gone. For 2 days, nothing happened. The power returned, the storm lifted, and the missing, they never returned. Except Martin. They found him walking out of the woods, barefoot, eyes white as snow. He didn't speak. He just hummed. Derek recognized the tune. It was the signal. People started to change. They gathered by the lake at night, whispering to the ice. They wouldn't respond when spoken to. They just stared and hummed. Derek tried to warn them, played the tapes, showed the data. No one listened, or maybe they were already listening to something else. He set fire to the signal shack, tore down the antenna. But it didn't matter. The humming continued. Even now, at night, if he pressed his ear to the frozen lake, he could hear it. A voice calling his name. Derek. Soft, ancient, hungry. He's the only one who remembers the world before the signal, the only one who still hears silence when he closes his eyes. And he knows. The ice won't hold much longer, not this year. Was that scary enough? Let us know in the comments if it got under your skin. Was it what you expected, or did it leave you breathless? Now, let's dive into the next. Brace yourself. The Inheritance. The road narrowed after the last village. Tall hedgerows clawed at the sides of her rented car, the gravel popping under the tires like brittle bones. Anna Whitmore hadn't returned to England in nearly 15 years, not since the funeral. Now she was back, 27 and alone, with an envelope in her coat pocket that smelled faintly of mold and lavender. Her uncle Ambrose, estranged, the solicitor had said, had died quietly in his sleep, leaving her the old family manor she hadn't seen since she was 12. There was no will, only a handwritten letter and a key wrapped in black velvet. As she pulled up the winding drive, the house revealed itself in fragments. First the turret, then the gables, then the wide front veranda overgrown with ivy. The windows, tall and narrow like slit pupils, reflected only the gray sky. She killed the engine and sat there, gripping the wheel. She remembered a smell, burnt herbs, sulfur, something coppery. It faded before she could place it. Inside, the air was dry and heavy, like a library left sealed for decades. Dust blanketed everything. Velvet chairs, dark wooden tables, a grand staircase with a carved banister that twisted like braided rope. The place was enormous, far too big for one person. "Hello," she called. Her voice vanished into the ceiling. No answer. She found the bedroom easily. It was just as she remembered. Faded green wallpaper, an armoire with a cracked mirror, and a bed that seemed too neatly made, as though expecting her. She unpacked lightly, some clothes, a laptop, toiletries, and took a long, silent bath in a clawfoot tub that echoed with every drop. That night, she dreamed of a hallway, stone walls slick with moss, candles burning without smoke. She was walking barefoot, chanting something, foreign and rhythmic. Ahead, a man waited, tall, with a stag's skull for a head. He raised one hand and she knelt. She woke with a jolt. Her skin was cold and slick with sweat. The clock read 3:11 a.m. Downstairs, the grandfather clock was ticking. She could have sworn it had been broken yesterday. Over the next week, the house shifted. Small things at first. A door that hadn't been there before opened into a narrow library. A mirror reflected a hallway that didn't exist. The kitchen tiles changed color, pale blue one day, deep green the next. She stopped calling people. Her mother never picked up anyway, and her friends seemed distant over the phone, their voices dulled as though under water. She began to sleepwalk. She'd wake up in different rooms, once in the cellar, barefoot and covered in dirt, once in the attic, whispering a name she didn't recognize, Nama. By the third week, the dreams were not dreams at all. There was a woman in the mirror. She looked like Anna, same eyes, same jaw, but older, worn, dressed in a black robe with a sigil carved into her forehead. "You are waking up," the woman said. Her mouth didn't move. Anna stumbled back, heart pounding. The mirror rippled like water. She locked the door that night and pushed a chair under the knob. It didn't help. She woke again in the study, surrounded by open books filled with symbols and blood-colored ink. The house had been a sanatorium once. That much she confirmed in the village library, tucked in a crumbling newspaper article from 1894. Blackmere Hall, sanctuary or sacrilege? Whispered rumors of strange rites and disappearances swirl around the remote manor now owned by occultist Dr. Ambrose Whitmore... The photo was grainy, but unmistakable. Her uncle, identical to the man she remembered, standing in the background, expression unreadable, but that would have made him over 130 years old. The librarian, an old man with clouded eyes, glanced at the article and whispered, "They never left, you know, just learned how to wear new faces." On the 6th night, she found the door behind the grandfather clock. It wasn't there before, she was certain, but now it stood slightly ajar, revealing steps descending into darkness. No light switch, just a smell, clove, ash, and salt. She brought a candle. The flame trembled in her hand. The stairs wound down farther than they should. Walls carved with sigils pulsed faintly. Whispers curled around her like smoke. In the chamber below, a circle was drawn in rust-colored chalk. Bones lined the edges. Candles burned at each point, though no one had lit them. A book sat in the center, thick and bound in black leather, its cover warm to the touch. Her fingers moved without permission. She opened it. The pages flipped themselves, stopping on a passage she couldn't read but understood perfectly. "We are not born, we return. The vessel remembers. The key is memory, and the price is name." Her mouth spoke the words. The air snapped like a broken wire. Shadows leapt from the walls. The room screamed. She woke in her bed. The sun was shining. Birds chirped outside. The house was clean, fresh like a hotel suite awaiting a guest. But in the mirror, she saw the sigil carved faintly into her own skin. And when she spoke, it echoed in two voices. They came that evening, a group of strangers, 8 of them, dressed in black, bearing gifts. One, a woman with eyes like polished stone, knelt and said, "Welcome back, sister. We feared the cycle was broken." Anna didn't respond. Not aloud, something inside her smiled. They called her Nama. In the months that followed, the house became a beacon. People arrived in the night, walking the long path through the woods with blindfolds and candles. She watched from the window. Sometimes she joined them, sometimes she led. She no longer dreamed, or rather, she never woke. Time folded in on itself. Her body moved, her voice spoke, but her mind floated above it all, tethered to something vast and ancient. One evening, she found her old phone in a drawer. The battery still worked. She opened the gallery, photos of her past life, friends, a dog, herself grinning. She looked so young, so hollow. The phone rang, unknown number, she answered. Silence. Then, "Anna," her mother's voice, cracked and distant. "Come home," the woman whispered. "You don't have to stay there, please." She almost answered. But the house was breathing now, its walls pulsing like lungs. The wind outside carried voices, and the roots beneath the floor had begun to grow. She hung up. The phone turned to ash in her hand. Years later, or perhaps days, a new envelope arrived at a solicitor's desk in London. A name, a deed, a key wrapped in black velvet. A girl, barely 20, read the letter with wide eyes. "I didn't even know I had an aunt," she murmured. The man behind the desk smiled thinly. "It seems you've inherited Blackmere Hall." Another story. Another shadow. The file is sealed, but its echo remains. You heard it. Now it knows. Make sure you're alone tonight, just in case. See you in the next folder. Stay in the dark. This was folder 404.